Welcome back. Toronto police continue their search of multiple properties in the investigation of the murders of two men from Toronto's gay community. The man accused, Bruce McArthur, is tied to several homes both in Toronto and east of the city. CTV's Miranda Anthistle now with the latest on the police probe.
Cadaver dogs trained to sniff out human remains scour this Leaside property, an alarming sight to neighbors.
Very shocking. I never would have thought anything like this would happen so close to home.
The home is one of 5 properties linked to suspected killer Bruce McArthur. He was charged on Thursday with first-degree murder in the deaths of Salim Essen, who disappeared last April, and Andrew Kinsman, who went missing 2 months later in June. Neither of their bodies have been found.
It's crazy that they could potentially find something so close to where we live. So yeah, it's scary and shocking.
Residents say McArthur used this home on Mallory Crescent to store his landscaping materials. Forensics have been here since Friday, bagging evidence. They've also been in Madoc, northeast of Belleville, after days of investigating. Forensic teams cleared the rural property, also linked to McArthur. Police believe he may have more alleged victims. According to a Facebook profile linked to McArthur that has since been taken down, he was friends with another man who went missing from the village, Skandaraj Navaratnam. He's one of 3 men who disappeared from the area between 2010 and 2012, which led police to launch Project Houston.
It was late December, just after Christmas, when he actually went missing.
Journalist Justin Ling has covered the case extensively and says there are striking similarities between Project Houston and Project Prism.
Bruce McArthur lived just a 5-minute drive from right here, which is roughly where Abdelbasser Faizi, the second man to go missing, his car was found.
It's also just around the corner from the Mallory Crescent property forensics have been focusing on.
Just the likelihood that all 5 would go missing in this way, it completely vanished. No body, no DNA evidence, no bank records, no phone records, nothing, is just so wildly unlikely.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is on his way to the Economic Forum in Switzerland. CTV's Mercedes Stevenson looks ahead to what's on the agenda in Davos.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau departs for Davos today, where he'll meet with the global rich and powerful, heading out to send a message that Canada is open for business. The Prime Minister will be meeting with heads of major multinational corporations, including UPS and Coca-Cola, hoping to convince them to invest in Canada and create more jobs here. It's the second time that the Prime Minister has been to Davos since he was elected, and he says that he's going to be trying to push middle-class values even among the global elite. Also on the agenda, G7 priorities like the environment and women's equality, things the Prime Minister is expected to speak to on multiple panels. But there will be some challenges as well, including the current ongoing NAFTA talks. The Prime Minister will be speaking with business people, hoping that he can convince some of them to put pressure on the U.S. administration to come up with what the American president himself has called a good deal, especially with the possibility that the United States may be pulling out of NAFTA. And speaking of the president, he is supposed to be attending Davos. Donald Trump, though, unsure whether he is coming as a result of the U.S. Government shutdown that is happening. So if he comes, certainly he will be the big newsmaker. And just 1 year ago, the global elite at Davos were shocked by the election of a very nationalist president. So it'll be certainly very interesting to see if he comes, how all of that pans out. The Prime Minister's office says that he is ready for anything. Mercedes Stevenson, CTV News, Ottawa.
The latest round of NAFTA talks are happening in Montreal this week, with fears the U.S. may pull out of the deal.
In all the time that Canada has existed as a country, the U.S. has never withdrawn from any trade agreement. So it's really not exactly clear, I think, to anyone exactly what would happen.
While the talks are going on here at home, Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland will attend the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. The U.S. Senate has passed a temporary measure to keep the government funded through February 8th, a major step toward ending a government shutdown. The compromise means federal offices will remain open and workers will be paid for at least 3 more weeks, while both sides try to hammer out a permanent deal on immigration reform. Those reforms will focus on DACA children brought into the U.S. illegally by their parents. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer blamed President Donald Trump for causing the shutdown.
President Trump's unwillingness to compromise caused the Trump shutdown and brought us to this moment.
In turn, Majority Leader Mitch McConnell pointed the finger at the Democrats, saying Americans didn't understand why they shut down the government, quote, to help illegal immigrants. The measure needed 60 votes in the Senate, and it passed with 81. It still needs approval from the House of Representatives and then be signed by the President Trump before the government can reopen. We now know the U.S. Embassy in Israel will move to Jerusalem by the end of 2019. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence made the announcement in a speech to the Israeli parliament this morning.
And it is my great honor, on behalf of the President of the United States, to be in Israel's capital, Jerusalem.
Pence began the day by meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The PM once again praised the Trump administration for what he called the, quote, historic recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. A major California highway that had been closed by mudslides has been reopened. State transportation crews spent the last 2 weeks clearing debris from Highway 101 near Montecito. The mudslides killed at least 20 people and swept away hundreds of buildings. 3 people are still missing. A new report from the poverty group Oxfam shows global income inequality is increasing. In the run-up to the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, the report finds the richest 1% get a whopping 82% of the world's wealth. The report, Reward Work, Not Wealth, says the current economic system only rewards corporations and the ultra-wealthy. A new way of helping the homeless find work is being tested in Britain. The goal is to raise awareness and much-needed money through the internet. CTV's Paul Workman explains.
Few in the world are homeless by choice. And once they hit that low point, it is very hard to come back.
Being in and out of hostel is just sad.
Tony Ely knows all about it. After living in hostels for a decade, he is now training to become an electrician, and there is hope again.
Training's ongoing, and I know what's ahead of me, and yeah, things are looking really fantastic.
The money for Tony's course was raised through crowdfunding taken to a new level.
So here's our homepage.
A website called Beam that matches homeless people with donors willing to pay for job training.
It's something that affects people of all ages.
The founder turned his success with a parking app into what he calls a social impact business.
What we're trying to build is a really large-scale model that can help homeless people access new employment opportunities in an incredibly dignified way.
With more than 300,000 people considered homeless in the United Kingdom, there is no shortage of demand for this kind of job training. Tony needed £4,378 for his training. Marilyn's target was £2,977 to become a taxi driver. All are recommended by British charities. A dozen homeless have already been helped.
We sit down with the charity, we sit down with the individual from the charity, and we work out what their own career plans are. And then from that, what the financial barriers are that they face.
I've just got the drive to succeed now, to hurry up and get out of a hostel and get my accommodation.
If nothing goes wrong, Tony will become a qualified electrician next September, and an early Beam success story. Small donations, big payoff. Paul Workman, CTV News, London.
Another royal engagement to tell you about. This time it's Princess Eugenie, the second daughter of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. The 27-year-old Eugenie will tie the knot with her longtime boyfriend, Jack Brooksbank. He's a nightclub manager, and they began dating 7 years ago after they met skiing at a Swiss resort. The wedding will take place in the fall at St. George's Chapel in Windsor, the same venue where her cousin Prince Harry will marry Meghan Markle in May. Women ruled the night at last night's Screen Actors Guild Awards. Kristen Bell was the show's first ever female host, and the presenters were all women.
As Screen Actors Guild Award host, Kristen Bell set an upbeat tone.
Let's make sure that we're leading the charge with empathy and with diligence, because fear and anger never win the race.
And the actor goes to Frances McDormand.
Last night bestowed Best Female Actor on Frances McDormand.
I come out of the woods every few years and you invite me to the party, but there's a lot of young ones coming up and they need doorstops too. Let's think about that.
The evening locked in Oscar favorites in all 4 acting categories. Gary Oldman's work as Churchill secured him another nod for Darkest Hour.
Now I am so deeply, deeply honored.
Allison Janney.
And supporting female actor Allison Janney's win for I, Tonya gave her a total of 7 career SAG awards.
I don't mean this to sound bragging or anything, but with my 7 Emmys and these 7 guys, I'm going to pair them up in like dance teams.
Okay. The subject of misconduct allegations. Best Male Actor nominee James Franco at his nomination received scattered applause. He didn't win, but his sister-in-law Alison Brie spoke out about those allegations to E! News.
What we've always said is that it remains vital that anyone who feels victimized should and does have the right to speak out and come forward. I obviously support my family, and not everything that's been reported is fully accurate, so I think we're waiting to get all the information.
And while presenters acknowledge the Me Too movement from the stage,
we are inspired that so many powerful voices are no longer silenced by the fear of retaliation.
Nicole Kidman brought down the house when she praised all the women in the room.
How wonderful it is that our careers today can go beyond 40 years old. Because 20 years ago, we were pretty washed up by this stage in our lives. So that's not the case now. We've proven that we are potent and powerful and viable.
We're going to take a quick break right now, but stay with us. The Health Report is up next.